Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been a while. I know I didn't think I was going to take this long break because it's been a month since I tried to record a video, but I think it's a break that I really needed because it helped me gain more clarity on a lot of things, help me understand what exactly I want to offer in terms of the value that I give on this channel, as well as just how I want to show up generally. So thank you so much for coming back because I know that you're all back here, and thank you to everyone new who would be engaging with this video as well. You're welcome. Let's dive right into today's conversation. So today I want us to talk about something that I usually do not like to talk about a lot, but there's an angle I'm going with it today that I think is very beneficial to anyone that would interact with this conversation. This conversation will be useful for you if you are someone who is looking to build healthy relationships. Very, very important. I want to talk about how clarity about your identity plays a huge part or a huge role in how you show up in your relationships. The truth is that I've met people, many people actually, who would say, I don't know why I'm always meeting girls like this. I don't know why I'm always meeting guys like this. It's always like, or it's almost like for every time you try to date, you're meeting a specific type of person or specific types of people, and you're sort of recycling the same experiences over and over again, and you don't seem to understand what is going on. I remember a particular friend of mine I met a few years ago. I remember she was saying something like she always would meet guys that were emotionally unavailable. So it's like everything starts out very nice, but at some point in relationship, you find out that they are not present, they are not committed, they start ghosting and all that. And at the time, we're having this conversation, she had gone through relationships with about maybe 6 people with the same traits, emotionally unavailable men. And at a point I told her, I said, are you ready for honesty? Or do you just want us to just, talk about it generally? And she said, no, give it to me. And I said, okay. What is one constant thing that you are noticing in all these relationships? She said, the trait of the guys I meet, the emotional unavailability of the guys. I said, that is one. But if you ask yourself deeper, you find out that the constant in those relationships is you. So for every time you have been with an emotionally unavailable guy, you have been in the relationship. So one constant you have seen play out in all these relationships is you. You are the common denominator, if we should put it that way. And that tells you that there might be something that you need to address that you have not addressed. I'm not saying that for every time you have an issue in a relationship, it means that maybe you have done something wrong or you have done something you're not supposed to do. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that when you begin to notice that you're recycling the same experiences, it's time for you to sit back and ask yourself questions. Maybe it's the way I'm showing up. Maybe it's the baggage I'm carrying. And it brings me to the first point. The first thing I want to talk about is how your past experiences shape your mind in such a way that it influences your presence in that relationship or in the relationships that you go ahead to have. There are some people that grew up in homes where their parents were not available. Their parents were not there for them emotionally. They did not care for them. They were not very present parents. And so maybe they had to figure life out on their own. And growing from that experience made them realize or think rather that this is how everyone is supposed to be. Do you understand? So I would have friendships, but I'm not committing as much because everyone is probably busy with something else and they're not that interested. And then they go on to have ordinary friendships, encounters, experiences that play into the same narrative of what they experienced as children. And so stepping into a relationship, you do not expect that it's going to be any different. And so if you don't get to that point of addressing those issues that childhood experiences give you, you find out that you show up as that person in your relationships. So one of the things I need you to do, if you're someone that has noticed that you are recycling the same experiences over and over again, one of the things you want to do is to sort of take a step back and ask yourself, what am I doing that I can do differently? Because the truth of the matter is that you do not have to be in a relationship or in a toxic situation where it looks like you're not getting the treatment that you deserve or the treatment that you need. You really don't have to be there. But if you find out that you're always in that space, then there is something that probably is broken inside of you that needs healing or needs fixing. And this is what I want this video to do for you today, to help you understand that there is a lot of identity crisis in the world today. A lot of people are walking around not understanding or not having clarity about who they truly are. And the truth is, when you do not have clarity about who you are, you will not be able to show up in a relationship as you should. I know that there is more to life than dating. There is more to life than marriage. There's more to life than those kind of relationships. But the truth is that these kind of relationships are or have the power to make or mar your life. And if you want to get it right, if you have decided that this is what you want to do and you want to commit to those kind of situations, then you have to understand that you have to do the work that is required. And one of the ways to do that work is to go on an identity clarity journey. But we are not going to really talk about identity clarity just yet. I want to really take you on that journey of seeing why your relationships have failed in the past. So the first point I already mentioned is that you probably had an experience when you were younger, a childhood experience, a traumatizing experience that defined how you see yourself and then how you also show up in relationships. And if that is not addressed, you find out that you will never be able to have a successful relationship. So the second thing I want to talk about is emotional instability. When you are in a relationship with someone and you find out that your mood is always determined by what they do or do not do, then you know that there is a problem or there might be an identity issue that you need to resolve. And let me clarify this. The truth is that one of the things that will affect us the most in life is love relationships. When you are emotionally connected to someone, the truth is that it goes a long way in affecting you as a person, affecting how you show up, because never forget, love is powerful, right? And when you have that feeling or that emotional connection, it's sort of a dicey place to be, because there are times where you find out that you've been hurt by the person and you can't just concentrate in your day because you're thinking about how could this person have done this to me, how could this person have hurt me like this. So I understand the place of emotional connections and how our love relationships will tend to maybe affect our lives or affect how we show up generally, right? But there is a part I'm going to with this conversation of emotional instability, and that is that if you find out that you are in a relationship, let me take it both ways. You're dating a person that for every time they rely on you for their emotions to be at a certain level. So you are calling them today and it's almost like they are down, but then they are like, let me just give you a vivid example. A guy calls his girlfriend and she's saying, I've been trying to reach you since yesterday. I've not been able to call you. It's been so traumatizing. It's been so depressing and all that. She's not been able to do anything with her life and all that. Sometimes it's not just love. Sometimes it's the fact that she's not properly seeing herself. And because she doesn't have that identity clarity, she's depending on you to feel a certain kind of way. And if you're in a relationship with that kind of person, you have to encourage them to go on that walk for themselves. Or you have to maybe even take a break or take a back seat and allow them go and fix that thing that is broken. It is a difficult thing because most times especially for those of us that have the savior mentality, right? We feel that we can save everybody and we feel like we can rescue everybody. And so when a lady comes into your life or when a guy comes into your life and it looks like they're leaning on you for everything, it sort of puts you in that place of, this is how it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to be that relevant to them. But the truth is that don't mistake relevance for over-dependency. They are not supposed to over-depend on you for their survival or over-depend on you for validation to that level that it will affect them and affect their emotions to the point that they are not able to function on their own. So these are things to look out for in a relationship. And then if you're someone as well who is dating someone and you find out that if they do the smallest things, if they how will I even put it? If they act in a certain way, whatever it is they do at every point affects your emotions significantly, then you might have a problem. It might be time for you to take a backseat to start to ask yourself, what is it about me that I do not think is sufficient enough that I have to depend on this person every single time for how I see myself or how I feel or how I show up. This is very important. So for every time you feel that, if you feel that you're having a high level of emotional instability in a relationship, it is a pointer that you may not be clearly seeing yourself in that season, and you may need to take a step back to reevaluate yourself, to understand where you are, to understand that you're sufficient in yourself, and the relationship or the person that you're with is an addition, a beautiful addition, not a completion. This is important, so that it helps you not get to the point where you are hurt unnecessarily, you are carrying grudges when you should not be carrying grudges, and you are able to let go easily. The reason why many people show up in relationships and they are not able to they're not able to forgive easily, is because they've already hinged their existence on somebody else. And so whenever the person doesn't act a certain way, it just rubs off on them. And there's another part of this I want to even say. So the actions or inactions of the other person, you may find out, may also start to affect you in the sense of, maybe I'm not enough, maybe I'm not that special. So maybe the person doesn't call you in a whole day or doesn't call you in 2 days, and you're already beginning to second guess yourself. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm not just enough for him or her. Maybe there is something I need to fix about myself. So for every time the person doesn't do something or does something you don't like, it comes back to, maybe I'm not enough. This is a conversation that is important. If you're currently in that place where you feel that everything your partner does or doesn't do is a reflection of who you are, then it's time for you to step back and take that journey of healing your identity and getting to that place of clarity. And just before I even move on from this point of emotional instability, let me hammer on one particular aspect that we see a lot. So you know how some people say, oh, my girlfriend or my boyfriend or my fiance or my fiance or my husband or wife is always jealous. You know, that's just how they are. They're always jealous. They're overprotective of me and all that. Sometimes when you're seeing that your partner is exhibiting that high level of jealousy, it comes from a place of insecurity, of a trauma, a pain, an emotion that has not been addressed and is affecting how they see themselves. So for every time maybe you do not call, for every time they don't hear from you, they begin to think, what is she doing? Maybe I'm not enough for her. Or what is he doing? Maybe I'm not enough and she's trying to go and be with somebody else, or he's trying to go and be with somebody else. And these are things that you have to check. Another one I want to talk about is lack of boundaries. You know, when we talk about boundaries, most times we tend to think that boundaries only play out in normal friendships or maybe family relationships and all that. But when it comes to relationship or intimate relationships, you have to understand that boundaries are very important as well. The fact that you love someone does not mean that you always have to say yes to them. The fact that you love someone does not mean that you always have to show up for them, even when it means that you have to go out of your way in a way that inconveniences you at a high level. And here's what I'm talking about. So somebody doesn't think that I'm saying don't make sacrifices, right? Because I'm also in a relationship and I know I make sacrifices for my spouse when I have to. But when you are in that situation and you're beginning to see that this person, I'm not able to say no to this person. For every time they ask me to do something, I go out of my way to get it done. I push myself. Sometimes I deprive myself. If it's something that is ongoing over and over and over again, you find out that there is no boundary in that relationship. And what that does is that it puts you in a place of resentment, where you start to resent the person without their knowledge. And most times it doesn't mean that the other person is a bad person. They might just think that you're showing up and maybe you're comfortable doing it. Meanwhile, you're really uncomfortable doing it. And it's time for you to now have that conversation with them and say, you know what, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm sorry, because I'm not able to at this point. I'm not able to at this time. A healthy relationship is a relationship where you're able to tell each other no from time to time. So for example, I'm going to give a very relatable example that many people can relate to. You ask a guy to maybe get you a hair that is like 1 million naira, right? And it's something you've been admiring for a very long time. But you know that this guy's salary is about maybe 60 or 70k every month. And you start insisting and pushing. And then he says, okay, no problem, I'll find a way. And maybe he goes and he takes out a loan to buy you that hair just to make you happy. That is a man that is probably dealing with boundary issues, that doesn't understand that he has the right to say no when something is not convenient for him, because it's going to take him like how long to pay off that loan if he's actually not earning at that level. So when you're in a relationship with someone where you don't have boundaries, the person doesn't have boundaries, you see that you're overexerting yourself to please them, it might be time to take a back seat, and ask yourself, am I trying to overcompensate for something? Is there something I feel that I'm missing out on if I say no? So you might just be in that position where you're like, okay, I've been hurt a couple of times, I have been treated badly a couple of times, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep this person because I don't want to lose them too. That's one of the reasons why you can find out that you start to have boundary issues in the relationship. When someone is trying to overcompensate because they don't trust themselves enough to keep you. And here's what I mean by keep you. They don't trust that they are enough for you. So this is also something that we need to be careful about. It can be you. You can be the one in a relationship who doesn't have boundaries, who is always trying to give and give and give, and you see that you're not getting anything in return. You have to make the decision today that you're going to have boundaries, because one thing I will always say is that boundaries save relationships. If you're able to have healthy boundaries, your relationship will flourish even better. I think the last one I want to talk about is fear of vulnerability. This is something that speaks and screams in most relationships, especially when it's serious relationships, right? And this can just show up in a way of you are a guy or you're a lady and you're not able to show emotions. So you are not as caring as you should be. Sometimes you can be emotionally unavailable, not because you want to be, but because you're trying to protect something. You don't want to be hurt, and so you're trying to protect yourself. You're in that place of saying, I do not want to show this person too much of myself to the point that I'm hurt. And I understand how that feels, because in a world like this where every day we are hearing about one breakup or the other, a guy or a lady doing this so and so to their spouse, it can be difficult to want to commit to that person. And I think that another video that I would create is a video that really speaks about even going on that journey of understanding the kind of person that is for you, based on what your life is about, based on what your purpose is about, and based on what you're called to. If I'm able to, I'll probably shoot a video on that, because one of the reasons why a lot of people will show up from a place of not wanting to be vulnerable is when they are not even sure of the people that they are with. And if you're not sure, then maybe it's time for you to go and address that issue so that you can fully be present in your relationship. There is a fear that is keeping you from being vulnerable. You might think that you're protecting yourself. I'm just protecting myself. I don't want to get hurt. But most times, there is a fear that is keeping you from being vulnerable. And if you don't address that fear, you will never be able to get the best of that relationship, because you're hiding your vulnerability and you are also limiting how intimate you can be with this person. And so it's important that you are able to address that fear, understand where that fear is coming from. If you see that you're not going to be able to commit at this level in your life for so and so reason, then maybe you should not actually be in a relationship, or you should not be looking to maybe get married. Because one thing I also want us to understand is that because everyone is talking about relationships, dating, this one is courting, getting married, doesn't mean that you are in a season of your life where you're supposed to be with someone or you're supposed to be dating someone. The truth is that you can be 25, you can be 26, you can be 30 and not be ready for a relationship, because there are so many things that you have to deal with in yourself first. And that is okay. No one is putting pressure on you to be with anyone. And when I'm even talking about vulnerability and building intimacy, it's important that you understand me so that you don't take it out of context, right? What I'm saying is that there is a part of you that your partner or whoever it is that you're with has the right to have access to in terms of your emotional connection. They should be able to connect with you at a certain level. They should be able to get to know you more, because the truth is, when there is no vulnerability, there is no knowledge of the person. There is only a limit to how much you can know someone when the person is not open, when the person is not vulnerable. And that's what I talked about when I initially talked about people that are emotionally unavailable. They don't just want to let go. And so you're not even able to figure them out. You're not able to know what they are about. You don't know them as much because they are hiding a part of themselves. And if you're in this situation or in this place where you know that you are hiding a part of yourself because you're not sure of what the other person is going to bring or what they're going to do, if you're someone who is already in a marriage, you have to go through that healing process so you can show up stronger for your spouse. But if you're someone who is in a relationship who is not married yet, then maybe you need to take a step back, go on that journey, and really strengthen that understanding of yourself. Have that clarity of what your life is about, what you are about. With that knowledge, you can now show up stronger in your relationships. If there is one thing I will leave you to, it is this: there is no relationship or successful relationship without a level of identity clarity. Once you are not sure who you are because of maybe a pain that you have experienced, hurt that you have experienced, a childhood experience that is still plaguing you, healing that you have not, a healing journey you have not gone on, you will not be able to commit to a relationship. You will not be able to show up, and probably almost always you will end up hurting someone else. And so, in order to avoid these issues, in order to avoid repetitive cycles and getting into that place of repeating experiences and recycling experiences, I need you to take a step back and tell yourself this: I am deserving of wholesome relationships. I am deserving of a wholesome marriage. I'm deserving of a wholesome partner. And so I want to go on that journey of working on myself and seeing myself clearly so I can better show up for the person that God eventually blesses me with. I hope that this conversation was useful for you. If there is anything that you add, please add it in the comments as well. I want to learn from you. As you know, in this community, we grow together, we learn together, and we become better together. See you in my next video. Have a beautiful day ahead. Bye.